There's a model for the rearrangement of Einstein's equation to c squared equals e divided by m, and placing e and m on a mathematical cross, so that e negative e on the y-axis and m negative m on the x-axis. So e divided by m becomes rise over run in straight line mathematics. So in the z dimension, c is coming up. So if we consider the s orbital structure of hydrogen and the positioning of E and M in the north, south, east, west positioning, then we can understand that there are actually 4 positions where E divided by M, negative E divided by M, negative E divided by negative M, and E divided by negative M are the 4 quadrants. And we can consider the process whereby light at right angles between the electron and the positron. So in this model, the magnetic properties, or the magnetic field and the electric field, are at right angles to each other, propagating or generating light as per Maxwell's equations. And so I'm saying within the nucleus, at the central point of the atom, or the singularity of the atom, acts as a light source. So the center of the atom is a sphere of light. And we can understand the geometry of the singularity basically by understanding the dark matter particle that was produced from the He-BEC singularity. So 1 over c squared equals epsilon naught mu naught, and that is a relationship in mirrored symmetry to the original Bose-Einstein condensate with a diameter of c squared, which equals E divided by m. So here we have an understanding of what photons at right angles to each other are being propagated from the singularity. So we can have an inward trajectory and an outward trajectory from the singularity in order to maintain the balance of opposites, where every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And we can understand, if we draw lines between the electric and the magnetic as the positioning of the electron and the positron, then we can start to draw a atom and the localities of the electron and the positron corresponding to the positioning of the wavelengths of light in the electromagnetic field within the atom itself. And the good thing about inverted symmetry is that the smallest thing becomes the biggest thing. So the Planck length, 1.6 e to the negative 35 of a meter, becomes 6.25 e to the 34 meters. So it's like blowing up a balloon. You invert it, you create the largest thing from the smallest thing, and then you can actually look at geometric features like projecting the smallest thing into the scale of the universe. And so this really provides a lens in which to explore fundamental features of atomic physics within the nucleus by inverting the symmetrical state down at the singularity through the lens of the Planck length, and taking that back to the He-BEC singularity. So the model is self-consistent through the singularity, going inward rather than outward, and that corresponds to the geometric features of rearranging Einstein's equation from E equals mc squared, or energy equals the interaction of mass and light, where the rearrangement gives a tunneling and entanglement process of light, and we can get to see how that process actually occurs through the reverse of beta decay processes. So here we have a beautiful model that looks at the lens-like properties of s orbitals and the electromagnetic field that is within the atomic structure by inverting, we get to see how to arrange the s orbitals in ways that correspond to Planck scale lengths. And because the Planck epoch has no time, really by looking at it in this way, we can kind of position things relative to the center of the atom, or the singularity within the atom, which remains constant throughout time. So it is a kind of a different approach to identify both location and speed of the quantum object, and looking at the velocity in terms of surface area of the electron to give the charge properties, and the locality with respect to the singularity at the center of the atom to give the mass. And I'll provide some context for that on another page.